You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
To another episode of the Red Moon Podcast. Live every single Tuesday night. Audio drops on Thursday. I don't want to forget all of our audio peeps. They're still out there. That are just downloading on all your favorite podcast catcher apps. That's right. We want to bring you your weekly movie news and entertainment. I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host, Sean Sebastian. And
Mustard Love.
Mustard Love. He remembered,
Vanilla
ladies.
Steam. He abandoned me.
He's always Vanilla Steam.
I'm still here.
He's in my phone that way.
Did you put him in there? Is that?
He's Vanilla Steam and Brian's Brydog.
Nice.
Oh,
nice.
In my group, like they pop
How
up
did
that
you
way.
spell Brydog?
BRI-DAWG.
I need to change that because I
Uh-oh.
was using BRY.
Oh.
Well, Brian's name is spelled
Brydog.
BRI.
That's
so
kind of
I just did.
brine.
Well, I mean, I think Brian can be spelled with a Y too, but his is spelled with an I, so I just did the BRI hyphen
The Y is the...
DAWG though. That type of dog. Brydog. Yeah, Brydog.
Vanilla Steam.
Brydog.
I tell you what, Vanilla Steam was wrecking it on Call of Duty.
Oh,
last
man.
night.
That's where he's at. That's
I'm
where
gonna hop
Vanilla
back-
Steam
I'm gonna
is.
hop back on there one day. I'm gonna hop back
I
on
may
there.
I had a
hop on there.
47-3 one match. I was killing
Actually,
it.
I don't think I have
Yes.
Call of Duty downloaded right now, but I do have
It
Battlefield.
was shipment 24/7.
And you were just killing... Wait.
Was
Is
destroying
this...
it.
So this is not Warzone. This is actual like Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Modern Warfare 2,
Yeah.
like regular multiplayer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Have
even
you
own
prestiged
that.
it yet?
I'm level 74.
Oh, you're close. Isn't it 75?
I don't know.
I thought it
It
was
already.
80,
I
but
think
maybe
it already,
it's 80.
I think I can prestige at any time.
And then, yeah, you just start all over.
yeah.
Oh,
Maybe it's
what?
70. Maybe
I think
it's
it
level
goes
70.
now to where it like gets you so high that you can actually prestige, and then but you can keep going. Like it's weird. Like I have it
What's
says
the point,
prestige
then?
up there, but
Oh, it does?
But I'm level 75. I don't know.
Well, here's the
74.
thing. I mean, I haven't played in forever. I know it popped up as like on sale.
I don't know those kind of things. I just play. And
And when you have a
normally
good
I don't
night-
have one of those good nights, but last night
Yep.
I had a good.
Man, I'm telling you, back when I lived with my brother and sister-in-law, and we would play, me and my brother, it was like 10 o'clock would roll around, 9 o'clock would roll around. My sister-in-law was going to bed.
Mm-hmm.
She knew that was time for me and my bro. Get on Black Ops 2.
And have a good time.
Say that M8A1, I mean, we had it golden, okay? It wasn't platinum, but we had it a golden M8A1 on there.
Nice.
That was my favorite gun, that with the ACOG. Oh, and I'm telling you, there were nights where we would go. We were the top 2 players in the match.
Yep.
Freaking love that. Love that freaking game. It was awesome. That was probably the deepest Call of Duty I ever got into was Black Ops 2.
That was a
probably
good
my
one.
favorite. It's a great one. And then like it
The
was funny.
original Modern Warfare 2 was probably
Yeah.
the one for me.
Oh yeah. That was a great one too.
That was the deepest I got into Call of Duty.
And it's funny because I remember it was like several iterations later, like after Ghosts, after Advanced Warfare, like me and my brother, we tried to revisit Black Ops 2 like 2-3 years later after we had been out. We knew we were going to be rusty, but no, there were tons of like just modders on there that had just ransacked the lobby, and it was like there was no way. They were
World at War
cheaters.
was like that.
Yeah.
If you try to pick that up and play it, I think they took those down, the servers down, but at one point you could get on there, and there was so much.
It's just
oh, yeah.
unfair. It was like brutal. You couldn't play it.
I know like Modern Warfare 2 on the PS3 you could still get on, but like there would be nobody like because I know Jacob did it and he was the only person on the server. Like he's just
the
on a
only
map
one.
by himself.
It's like the whole East Coast is blank, and
It's
Jacob's
like-
the only one on there.
It's like, well, I guess we won't play this online anymore.
Hey, good times. But we're here to talk about movies. Maybe
Yeah,
we need to have just like
movies.
a whole other separate gaming podcast. We need to do a movie podcast and then a gaming
Isn't that
podcast.
what multimedia was a little bit for? So when we had
Sorta.
game talk, we not specifically,
But remember,
we could.
multimedia. Yeah, true.
For
it was,
anything,
it was our
yeah.
way to
It's not. I didn't
Yeah.
mean specifically gaming,
because
but
it used to be TV show segment. And then we ran out of show.
Yeah.
We didn't run out of
We
shows
just
to talk
stopped reviewing.
about.
It just got too hard to do.
We still haven't done The Chosen.
Yeah.
We promised that like a year ago.
Yeah.
We still haven't, we haven't even
true.
done that.
It's like Jesus will actually come back.
Yeah, but
before we get to review The Chosen.
We'll review it then. When it's happening.
Yeah,
We'll
we're
just-
The Chosen.
Whoa!
And he'll just, it's like that meme I sent y'all this past week. It's like that video of,
He might leave us here. He might be like, look, you guys have promised this.
well,
and
God's sitting there with the list and he's like, what's this? And he's like, here's y'all's group chat. Guilty.
true. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Right. But no, we got a great show. Obviously,
We do.
We are not on strike because the only writer we have in this room is sitting right across from me.
And I don't
Well,
get paid.
This
So
ain't no union. We're not going to let him strike.
striking doesn't. Well, I mean, don't serve me any purpose. I already don't get paid. Like, well,
So
that's
you
true.
should be on the picket
I guess I
line.
should strike.
You could
until
strike
I
for
get paid.
pay.
Yeah.
It's like I want a penny for every review.
Like I want to
write.
increase my pay to 1
I
cent.
want a penny.
I'll give it to
to
you.
one something.
We probably have about, I get you like 500 pennies. I think we have over 500 reviews at this point. 500 pennies. What is that?
Are you
$5
gonna you're gonna backdate it? Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. I am a man of
that's
my
nice.
word.
I just made $5.
It's all been
$5 for your entire catalog of
$5
movie
for
reviews.
5
Look,
years.
I went on strike for 30 seconds and it was already a success. Great.
Now he's gonna be like, now I want a nickel. He's gonna up it. It's like, no,
you
we
gotta wait a
settled.
little bit. I
Yeah.
mean, you can't just strike right after.
I was gonna say this is the
Gosh.
first strike in 8 years, or no, since 2000. It's been over a decade.
It's been almost 10. Oh yeah,
It's been like 13, 14 years now.
Yeah, yeah.
Holy crap! It's been like almost 15 years since the last writer
Well,
strike.
and a lot of that. Well, we're getting into it before the headline, but a lot of that has to do with just the nature of how technology is advanced too. But yeah,
well, and
we'll
think about it.
dive
When
more
these
into
when
that.
these negotiations come along, yeah, it's like the lines have to be redrawn and things can't be
Well,
negotiated.
as
and
technology
compromised.
advances, just like okay, VHS to DVD, and then now we have streaming and stuff. There's things that you couldn't account for because it didn't exist and they couldn't predict it would exist. But now that it does, it's like, well, we need to get paid for our
That's
part
right.
in this too. So, but
So
we'll get there.
We're going to talk about the WGA strike that just hit. It was breaking news this morning that it
Yeah.
actually went into effect. So we're going to miss all the late night shows, guys.
Aw.
They're
Well,
they're
now
not
they're
going to have
worried-
any Colbert.
They're worried that
no
if
Jimmy Kimmel.
the strike goes on long enough that this will affect fall television when all the shows come back on the basic channels that nobody watches anymore.
But yeah, we'll talk about it. Well, that'll be our headline section. But hey, we've got a great movie to review. We got an informal review of sorts. We did check out Beau is Afraid.
We did.
And we have our
2/3
thoughts
of
on
us
that.
did.
2/3. It is. I didn't pay Sean to go see it, so he couldn't account.
It's
for
weird
that.
not going with.
Yeah.
See, normally I go with Sean and not you.
That's-
so
yep.
this was different.
It was the one time I could actually make it. My schedule is usually the one that gets in the way. But we went and saw that. We got our own little opinions there. But we did all review Tetris,
Yeah.
which has been out for over a month now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was one that was on streaming. The mini was Saturday, which is why I originally was like, I can't go see Friday.
We didn't
night.
think we could go see
I
a
gotta get
movie.
sleep.
And then Brandon's like, "Oh, I lied." And then Sean was like, "Oh, but now I can't."
I can't.
Yeah.
I've got
My
plans.
fault.
No, you
It's
had
Brandon's fault.
you had husbandry duties. You were acting husbandly.
Oh.
I was-
Yeah,
good job.
Yeah.
You
Good
were
job.
you were being a good husband.
Trying to.
Keith was being a good husband to me. Because
No, I
everybody
wasn't.
knows at this point we're married.
I mean,
We went to St. Matthew's, and their reclining seats have armrests that'll go up and make a whole big seat. So with
you
your date,
snuggled?
We
I tried.
cuddled.
No, I put that armrest up, put my arm around him, and he put the armrest back down. And I was like, "Fine, then, fine."
He's not ready to come out.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
the thing is rejection is what makes him a little bit more.
Oh, you
know,
like to play
gets-
hard to get.
Gets him in the mood.
Oh, God.
Just saying.
The Cinemark St. Matthews isn't quite. I mean, I don't want to say it's not. It's way better than say it's nice. It wasn't quite as nice as Preston, and I just think that's because it's a little bit Preston's
Well,
just got a recent refresh.
And actually, Sean, we would have benefited. I did benefit because I had the points rolled over.
oh yeah, the showing we
Keith-
chose was 20 points, so
Yeah.
I had to pay because I didn't quite have enough.
Really?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
mine didn't roll over. Because
had
the last
19
one,
points.
They only give you 34. They give you a weird number.
34.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I only had 19. It's like you did that on purpose because yeah, movie
Yep.
pass. But anyways, no, at Cinemark St. Matthews was still really nice. Plenty of employees, still friendly. The screen was massive, and this was you could tell this was supposed to be an indie theater for indie movies like this.
Yeah.
because there was the seats there were very few. but still the screen still went like wall to wall, ceiling to floor. So I was like, this is nice. So I don't know. So that's 2 weeks in a row. Cinemark's impressed me.
Another impressive,
Yeah.
exactly. Cinemark, theater experience.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't say more good things about them except for that AMC needs
And
to
then
get on the ball.
and the best part is we see this movie that me and Brandon both love, but it is a very bizarre and definitely, I want to say a little bit cerebral, is the fact that like it's not just a straightforward story. Like it is pretentious in a good way, I guess. Like not like Cronenberg's garbage or the Green Knight, which we bash. Like, yes, this is more art house, but it actually has intelligence behind it. So we finished this movie, and it is a bizarre. Like, I mean, you've seen Midsommar, like it. And there's these teenagers that were behind us that saw it too, and they hated every second of it. I mean, it was almost like when we saw Lighthouse. Baxter. Like, except that they weren't as disruptive. I mean, I could hear them when they weren't enjoying it, but they weren't like the dude at Baxter who was throwing candy at the screen, going "F you."
That was ridiculous.
Why do people like go see movies that are obviously independent, like art house movies, knowing that they don't like cerebral art house films? It's like if you are a frat boy who just wants to watch something dumb, why are you going to see this movie?
Yeah,
go get your Bud Light, man. Go get your Bud Light. Exactly.
Bud Light.
All right, guys. I think we're ready to get into our Tetris review. So it's been out on Apple TV for a while. You can check it out there. But here's our opinion of how the movie was.
Video game movies have come a long way. We now have the likes of Sonic and Nintendo's recently released Super Mario Bros. Movie. What many may have missed, though, is there was another recent film based on a video game that once famously came packaged with the original Nintendo Game Boy. That's right, Tetris now has a movie. What's this? How? Is this like Hasbro's Battleship movie where they just take a board game title and make up some random garbage to go with it? Kinda, but not really. Let me explain. Directed by John Baird and written by Noah Pink, Tetris is a film based on the true story of how Dutch video game designer and founder of Bulletproof Software, Hank Rogers, played by Taron Egerton, obtained the handheld and console rights to Tetris by traveling to Soviet Russia to negotiate directly with the game's developers and owners. While the film is a Hollywoodized telling full of car chases and KGB spies, when reality was a bit less exciting, the movie does a solid job of conveying Rogers and the story of Tetris while being entertaining to boot. When people hear Tetris as a movie, they don't automatically think it's a game which could be turned into a film. And most likewise don't know the true story about how Tetris made its way across the globe, ultimately to be spurred to popularity through its packaging with Nintendo. In this way, Tetris the film is unique as it's not a game turned into film, but the entertainingly true story surrounding it. With enough unique scene transitions and 80s gaming flair merged with the Soviet espionage flavor, Tetris tries its best to bring something unique to the table. Egerton gives a solid performance as Rogers, with Nikita Efremov as Alexei Pajitnov, Tetris' designer, offering standout moments. As a whole, the film is well made, well told, and well acted, and I was entertained. That said, Tetris just doesn't really stand out despite its attempts to do so. Yes, we have the unique transitions reminiscent of the game and loads of nods and Easter eggs, but at this point, what film based on a massively popular IP doesn't? The film tries to use its Soviet setting and the KGB to add tension, but I never felt worried for the character's safety. Maybe this was due to the fact I already knew the outcome with this being based on a true story. But even still, a solid director can make you feel the tension the character and real person had to have felt at the time. At its core, Tetris is like many of Apple's original films, safe and slightly generic, but very well made. I don't want to bash Tetris as it is worth watching and is an entertaining film, but ultimately it's nothing new under the sun. That said, I give Tetris 3 out of 4 stars.
Well, hey, we actually have a movie that we enjoyed
From
after
Apple.
the last several weeks. And from Apple.
Yeah.
I'm not honestly though. All of the ones we've watched of Apple and even reviewed, like none of them I think have been bad. They've all been rather milquetoast. And this one, again,
They have not had them other than Coda, which won Best Picture.
Coda was really good. I'll give them that.
And even that, it's like it's good. It's
But
a
it's
great movie,
still-
but it's not something I'm going to be like revisiting all the
when you
time.
compare it to a past like Best Picture winners, again, it's like this is a little bit more generic, and that's how I felt about Tetris to the extent that it's probably their least generic movie they've made so far. Like it's really well done. I love the Easter eggs. I love a lot of the transitions and like using the pixelated imaging and the soundtrack. So it's one of those things that definitely has a flair. And I think definitely I want to see more of this type of movie from Apple, because while I would say it's still, like I said in my review, nothing new under the sun, I was very entertained the whole time, and it was very well made. And I mean, I think it does deserve fully the 3 stars that I've given it.
Indeed. What about you, Sean?
No,
What'd you
I agree with the 3 stars. I actually, most of the review, I'm pretty much on the same page. The only thing towards the end of the review, I did hear you say that you didn't feel like there was a lot of tension. Or that you didn't feel the tension.
Yeah,
see, that was one of the things that drew me in. Was even though I knew the outcome, that obviously the guy lives and survives the Soviet Union to get the game out and obviously to the world, because I played it when it came out. But I did feel some of that tension when the KGB is after him and he's trying to escape and get on the plane.
That was made up too, and I guess maybe that's why.
And I think I get that. I'm sure that there's embellishments and stuff in the story, but I don't know. I did feel like there was a little bit of tension. I worried more for the actual creator of the game than I did for Hank Rogers. So
that I agree with, and I guess maybe I should have worded or clarified better, is that it's with the main character that I didn't feel like he was ever in danger. But I do agree, the guy that played Alexei, because he's, like I said in the review, the only other actor I'd name drop just because I really enjoyed his performance as well. So,
which is kind of funny because he's kind of dry, but that's Russia, like that's Soviet era Russia.
I loved the scene where it's like he's there with him and his wife in this apartment, and she's of course speaking Russian to her husband, and she's just like, you know, I forget how she words it. She's like, he's dumb, but he's honest. It's just like very straightforward.
They don't trust him, you know.
Yeah. But I agree. It was like his performance is the one thing that stood out to me in terms of he was just this lowly guy who's working his normal government job in communist, USSR, and ultimately he's thinking, he's not thinking about big money or anything because, again, it's all for the society.
Right.
So when he comes up with this and it kind of latches on and everybody starts playing it, he has really no idea beyond outside of just his own home country, and even that, his own office, it grows to the success that it is.
When he finds out that, the rest of the world has already been playing and enjoying this game, he doesn't even care about getting money. He's just like, oh, that's really awesome. As far as, he's just...
Well,
it's a non-issue to him. He's just like, I made this for, like you said, this is for my country or my...
Well, no. I was kind of tongue in cheek about that.
Yeah.
He made it knowing that it was like there was no chance of him being successful.
Yes,
because you do everything for the country.
Yes,
yeah.
I agree.
Yeah,
I didn't mean it the way I said it, but
they immediately snatch that up and sell it for $10,000.
Right.
And it's like, and he doesn't see any of that.
Well, because he's just trying to survive his normal day to day.
Yeah,
so I mean, to
him, that was tension enough.
Yeah.
Like even with him in the office space when he's trying to send that fax. And even his supervisor is watching him and reporting him to the government. Like, that just creeped me out.
Right.
It's scary.
Well,
when you watch stuff like that.
It's like
think
what
about
we're headed towards. Honestly.
Well, it's true too.
Yeah.
It's like you can watch your team's messages.
The think police.
But no, I did think that, that was the one part of the movie that drove me, especially towards the end, was I had to stop about 30 minutes left in the film because we went to go see Beau Was Afraid. And I told Keith where I was kind of setting at that point, and I was still a 3.
Yeah.
But I told him, I said, really, I was like, I know just from playing it as a little kid when you saw the bulletproof software, I was like, so I know he gets the rights eventually.
Yeah.
But as far as the original creator, I had no idea that he was going to make it. So I was intrigued just because I didn't know the history to whether or not he actually does make it in the end. And I'm not going to spoil it.
Yeah.
You have to watch the movie to find out.
Yeah.
But
it is definitely worth checking out.
It is. It's a good movie. It's one that I was kind of, again, from the trailer, I was intrigued.
Mm-hmm.
It, in the sense, I know this is one that I don't even think that obviously word of mouth kind of got around to PlayStation because their movies were already long in production. But to see the idea of the games that they even or the movies that they are turning into from games, like Gran Turismo,
but coming at it from a unique angle, like let's tell a true story based, like because Gran Turismo is the same thing. It's gonna be based on the true story of a kid who won a Gran Turismo competition and went on to become an actual professional race car driver.
And I think that's cool because I'm sitting here and I was thinking, are they going to tell? I think I've mentioned it on the show before. Are they going to just tell Ford v Ferrari, but call it Gran Turismo?
It's going to be Fast and Furious, but Gran Turismo.
Right. Sometimes
but they're not doing that.
Sometimes it's more interesting to know how the game was created than to have a movie based on the game.
Dude,
well, I mean, how do you make a movie based on it? Like this is really the only way you can make a movie called Tetris. Because
and I'll be honest,
I wouldn't put it past them to make some stupid Russian buildings falling down. Like I wouldn't put it.
Oh,
that
would be like a disaster movie.
Yes.
It's called Tetris, but they're just.
It's stupid, but
that actually would have been in the early 2000s. That's exactly what they would
late 90s, early 2000s.
I mentioned it in the review. But just like the Hasbro Battleship movie, that was just it was just some random generic.
And they made it in aliens.
Yeah.
It's about aliens. It's
And
like the game board game has nothing to do with aliens.
It's
just stupid.
Random story, but it's like, well, it has battleships in it, so we can call it Battleship.
Starring Bill Pullman.
Yes.
And
they have
Dwayne
to actually play the game Battleship at the end of the movie to beat the aliens.
I've never seen it. I didn't.
Oh, you never seen that?
No.
They legit their radar goes out and they legit have to use like the board game, the method of play in the board game. They have to go back old school
secretly
in order to be able to hit them without targeting systems.
So they
and
were
stuff.
actually giving coordinates.
Yes.
Like, fire at this coordinate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Wow. Yeah. I mean,
B4.
I could see with a good writer and director how that could be somewhat clever, but
no, it's terrible.
It's cheesy
and it's got Liam Neeson in it.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Oh yeah. But no, I mean, I would like to see maybe like a feature length docuseries of, like you said, certain game franchises that I mean, you used to have it on like old G4 TV would have these half-hour shows and they were called Icons.
Yes. I remember
but
that.
it's like I would love to see like a deep 1.5, 2 hour documentary on say Naughty Dog and it's up and coming, like where it started out doing, even before Crash Bandicoot and then came on the scene and all the way to The Last of Us. And it's like just that escalation of technology and also like the creators and the artists who come around who say like we want to create something more that's just much more immersive and emotional. And it's like there's just several different, I mean that's why I think video games have become kind of the new uncharted medium. No pun intended. Because it's like I think people who are looking for those newer experiences or experiences that they haven't seen in other places or they can't experience necessarily on film have turned to video games. And we've admitted on the show that it's like obviously it's definitely within our generation because we grew up with them and we've seen them become more immersive. But I think especially as the films continue to get more woke or they continue to rehash old franchises.
Hollywood has gotten so generic.
You look to something that's going to reinvigorate some life back into the creativity, and you really find that in the video game
markets are still full of a lot of people who are doing it because they still love the craft and they love telling stories. I'm not saying, I mean, you still have the bigger companies that are now starting to err towards some wokeness like Naughty Dog, unfortunately. But I mean, you do still have a lot of these smaller game companies that like they just want to be able to craft something amazing that people enjoy. They're not looking to bash people overhead with this strict message or to tell the same generic. I mean, that's actually one thing that's great about video games is the successful ones aren't the same gameplay and generic style because people get tired of that and video game creators want to make something new.
Well, you could argue, I guess,
Call of Duty.
Yeah, you have your staples.
You do have your staples.
Right.
You do.
Yeah.
But I mean,
same with sports franchises.
I guess that's the beauty of the gaming industry right now is that you have your staples like that, like Hollywood used to. You would still have your blockbusters, but you still had plenty of other movies to see. Nowadays, it's like it's only blockbusters or rehashes. It's very rare do you get The Beau is Afraid or
and even those have now become dependent upon certain directors who have made their name known. And it's like I mean, yeah, you're going to get your Wes Anderson flick, but he has a cult following that's going to be somewhat successful,
That's
even
really
upon wide release.
What you have to turn to now, like when you want a solid, like different movie, it's like almost you have to have your Wes Andersons, your Eggers, your Christopher Nolan's, Tarantino, who's working on his final.
It's like
film.
we're going to take a chance, but you
Yeah.
have to have enough of a vision that we're not much at risk. We know
Yeah.
your name is going to sell
Yeah.
and put butts in seats.
It's like
Do you think though, with someone like you mentioned, Wes Anderson, do you think that if that's where people have to turn to get originality and to get something good, and all of these people turn to Wes Anderson or someone like him, and then his films become as popular as some of the blockbusters, do you think that he will become kind of like the blockbuster filmmakers, or do you think he'll stay his true
I think
self?
he's proven that he'll stay himself.
Yeah,
I mean,
none of his movies have ever been. But
they have gotten
They've
more
never
I
drawn
mean,
that
I-
big of an
time.
audience. He has a niche audience. Or
True,
whatever.
but you have those like Grand Budapest Hotel that kind of broke through the mainstream, and they definitely grossed more than say a real indie flick. I mean, I think that's why we've been so surprised by something like Blumhouse, who can make a $10-13 million film, or even like Jordan Peele, who can rise above those ranks and garner $150-200 million grosses.
At one point, it seemed like, I mean, early on, it was like, well, man, every one of these scary movies that Blumhouse is putting out are actually decent films.
A lot of them still
now
are.
you got Renfield, and
Actually,
you've got all
well,
these
it's
different
funny, but
movies.
I was even thinking about that today. I was like, but now they're starting to. I mean, look, we have another Conjuring movie coming out. You had your Insidiouses, your Sinisters, and then
We
like
got another Insidious coming
right,
out.
and exactly. I'm like they then started creating what was kind of the occult horror flick that had a little bit more of a grounded story that wasn't just slasher, and it was like, oh, it's a resurgence of horror. They don't just have to release in the fall for Halloween. They can release any time of the year and just be a good film that scares you. But now they've kind of gone down the road of, okay, we're just gonna, this sells, this works.
Yeah.
Let's just make
Well, I
another
think,
one.
Again, you'll still always have those because at least they still do. Like we still get ones like Barbarian. So it's like
Yeah.
I think finding the balance is where, because if making Conjuring and Insidious movies help keep
make a Barbarian?
help
Yeah,
keep paying
that's
the
true.
bills, that's
Yeah.
fine. I mean, but it's when they get caught up in only like Disney, like it's like, oh, now we're only going to do Marvel, Star Wars, and remakes of our live action movies. The last original thing they made, which was still based on one of their theme park rides, was Jungle Cruise.
Yeah.
And also, I think it's interesting because you then run into the circumstance of, gosh, I lost my train of thought. I knew where I was going, and then I lost it.
It happens.
I'm trying because I was trying to think of how I tie this back into Tetris.
We need to
'Cause I
tie
know
it into
we're-
Beau is Afraid if we're
I
doing
mean,
an unofficial
okay,
review.
I mean, I'm very happy with not only that movie and the fact that I think it's a universal message that's done, and they again a classic. Oh gosh, I'm forgetting the director's name now. It's
Ari Aster.
Ari Aster. You know, in a way that he has already proven that he can tell a very bizarre, metaphor, but also in like he could take that deep dive mentally and emotionally. And I was very pleasantly surprised with that. But also, I think it tells a very human story that if you look beyond just the metaphor and some of the imagery, you can tell what it's not so buried in the metaphor that you just lose track of the story.
Anybody that has some types of like anxiety and fears in that way. Now, I mean, his are very specific due to past things I don't want to get into and spoil the movie. But it's like I feel like there's definitely parts of the movie like that I could relate to the character, where like there were certain like fears and anxieties he was having. That's like, oh yeah, no, I definitely. Granted, I grew was able to overcome some of these things, but it's just one of those things where there's definitely I think. It touches, like you said, on a human nature that's where woke films go wrong, is they go microscopic to specific details that not everybody can relate to, and it's very geared towards just that one message. This is definitely, I think, a film that is like a universal, like any type of person can relate to some of these things, but it is very abstract. I would say that this is his like lighthouse as far as Eggers, like the abstract nature of that, but better in the sense that like the connective plot is a lot more easier to follow, even though it's still not a direct it's not a story that that just unfolds like a typical movie. I mean, it is a lot of metaphor and a lot of
It jumps around. And it jumps around from moment to moment to where you're thinking, is this real or is this just in his head? And yet, it's kind of, there are a lot of things that are left open to interpretation.
I would say there are visual cues, I think, like when you get towards the end and you see certain things that he's looking at and discovering that kind of put everything together, that I feel like if you're not paying attention and you don't notice that, like, oh, this is all connected, like, I think that's part of, like, with the people behind us who didn't watch it, didn't like it. I say didn't watch it because I don't think they pieced together all the parts that. It's an easy movie to
and
not.
Look, I'm forgiving of people who it's just not their flavor.
It's definitely
that's
not.
Fine.
A lot of people are not going to like this movie.
No, and that's okay. And kind of going back to what we were talking about with the art house scene, it's like that's kind of always been the intrinsic nature of indie film scene is you're going to have those that speak to you in such a way that it's new and interesting and it isn't the big blockbuster. And that's kind of what I was talking about with when you were bringing up the idea, Sean, of, the Wes Anderson, if they were to blow up, would they change their style? It's like, no, I think, we do need some staples like that in the industry who the industry understands, okay, this is their style and it may not always be popular, but it's very, again, it has its fan base. It has a consistent following. And not only that, but you do need the blockbusters to fund some of these ventures. I just think the part of, where the indie crowd gets there, a lot of these films don't come out so often, and I was going to correlate this with video games because it's like usually you can see the same thing with franchises. Once you have a successful one in the actual, I'm trying to think of like Uncharted. There's 4 Uncharteds, but all of them are very well done, and even though like 2 and 3 released real close to each other, but even still, each one felt distinct. Each one felt like it wasn't a waste of time. Yeah. And I think it's very directed when you're talking about a video game because they have to spend so many more hours and resources in developing it and making it for, something that isn't going to come out right away. Whereas back in the day, it was the exact opposite because the resources were so finite on the hardware and you could only do so much. There were, 2 years was a huge time span for a Final Fantasy game. That was insane. Whereas now you're talking, it'll be 5 or 6 years in between games.
Well,
well, yeah,
yes,
exactly.
Yeah. Or Grand Theft Auto.
I think you have to be, Grand Theft Auto is a perfect example. And that one is an example of one where it's like, okay, quit buying the game, quit supporting the current one, and they'll have to release a new one. There's so many residual ways in which the money continues to pour in with video games. And when they create, part of a franchise, they have to be very, I think, direct and intentional about what their next iteration is going to be because they don't have the luxury to just waste millions upon millions of. And you could argue the same thing with movies, but again, $200 million is sadly a drop in the bucket to someone like Disney. And you may say, well, no, they still don't want to lose that. Sure, they don't, but they can far more withstand that than a video game company that it's like, if that's the only game they're going to have for the next 5 years and it flops and they spent $200 million on developing it,
that's a problem.
That's $200 million that they're not going to make back for 5-6 years. That's huge.
Yeah, all of their development, all of their production went into that one game.
Yeah. Right.
There's few video game companies that have all these like separate divisions that can work on 4 or 5 games at a time. There's your Naughty Dog, all they were making was The Last of Us. All they were making was Uncharted. They weren't making 3 or 4 games at a time. Their primary focus was that one game,
like
so
they
all the
make
resources
it
went into
through
it.
Development,
and then
start on something else.
Right.
But their full resources.
But if that game was a
invested.
flop, that was a huge hit.
Yes.
But to a degree, I'd say that does apply to some people like your Wes Andersons, your Eggers, your Astors, in the sense that, they're going to keep funding the big blockbusters, but for someone like Ari Aster, who only has these 3 films, each movie, like he does have to, or even Wes Anderson, who's more proven now, so people are more willing to fund his movies, but when you are smaller like that and you're making just a movie at a time and you don't have the funding of a huge franchise like Marvel, it's like you do focus on making the best movie possible, not just because you're passionate about it, because I absolutely believe Anderson and Aster and all these other directors, they do it because they love filmmaking and it shows, but also if you don't try to make the best movie possible and your movie flops, studios, when you're small like that, studios are like, we're not going to take a chance on another
and
Ari Aster.
We've seen it proven with Jordan Peele in the sense that it's like, okay, he's afforded himself the luxury, same with Tarantino, they've afforded themselves the luxury of once they do create a hit, they don't have to rush out with something.
No.
They're allowed the creativity of, let me find out what my next project's going to be, and this is where I'm going to take my time to develop it and make sure it is what I want to, the story I want to tell. And unless it comes out and it flops, the studio is going to come back to you and say, okay, we're going to continue to let you keep doing your thing. And it's usually whenever there's the sign of the first, turnabout where it's like, okay, it's like The Hateful Eight didn't come out until 7 movies in. Mm-hmm. So
it's not a bad movie.
And it's not a bad movie. It's just long-winded and it's not his best.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, you can at least afford Tarantino a little bit of leeway because he's made so many other.
Made Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So I'm just like, okay.
Yeah. Then you've got people like M. Night that have this amazing back catalog, and then they start making crappy movies, but people are still betting on him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why don't you stop giving him money to make these crappy movies, and maybe he'll take.
Because the problem is he started making
something.
A couple good ones again, so they're like, oh, he's back, and then he made bad.
Well, and I hate to say it, but you look at the films he's making for the budget that he's making them, and then they're still successful.
They are actually, yeah.
I mean, that's the thing with Old was terrible, but I'm sure it made the marketing was great. The same with Knock at the Cabin. It was based on a book.
I forgot he
People,
made that.
I know.
I forgot we saw
Gosh,
it.
that movie was terrible.
It was god awful.
Yeah, it was.
I've talked to
awful.
other people, like people who I know would like actually be a little bit more forgiving because of some of the woke stuff, like that are full woke, and even they hated it because it was just bland and dumb. It's like, so even when you
it was
pander,
The Happening too.
Yeah.
2.0.
It kind of was.
I'm
Not
telling
as
you.
poorly acted. I'll give them that. At least the acting in Knock at the Cabin was
But some of
better
the things that take place were so hokey, just like The Happening.
Yeah.
Well, and it was weird because it is.
Cheated on me? Mark Wahlberg.
But it's like there were just so many moments where I'm just like, he has rested on his name and that, acclaim that he's had from the past.
Yeah.
And then he did have certain movies like Split or The Visit that reinvigorated people to come see him. And part of that was him kind of going back to his, creative roots. And then the funny thing is then I see something that's, again, he may not have a huge involvement in, but like on Apple TV Plus,
The Servant.
The Servant, and I'm just sitting here and I'm just like, okay, but I've heard great things about that.
I have too, yeah.
And there's just so many different hit or miss things with him, but he's still a cultural, creative tour de force.
Spielberg's the same way. You have those great films that he's done, but then it's like at some point, it's like at some point he started taking the easy route, and quit taking chances and gambling on things. Jaws was a huge gamble, and for his career, I mean, his career may have never started because of that movie if it would have flopped, but it became the first blockbuster.
Well, and I think with anything creative, you as a creator have to have the certainty that it's going to succeed, even if it doesn't. And we know that there's plenty of movies out there. They become cult classics that are flops when they first hit the screen, and they become something that is beloved over time for whatever reason. But yet, you don't retroactively go back and apply that success to the director. That director's probably never heard of again, but their movie will live on in infamy. And so it's interesting to see, what we have to deal with in terms of something like Tetris, where, okay, it's not the most, mind-blowing, amazing way to tell that story, but it's an interesting perspective, and it's a good movie.
It's a better made movie than a lot of the films we've seen recently, and I mean, as far as
that have rested on their laurels, that potentially could have been creative, like Renfield.
Yeah, Renfield could have been a much better movie than it was, because it had a very creative premise. It's funny because a lot of the ones we've seen this year have been better, but they've also been kind of franchise films that tend to take their time, like Creed, John Wick. Dungeons and Dragons is new, but technically that will be a franchise, I guess. So it's just one of those things where I think you still have creative movies and people. It's just everything's being drowned out in Hollywood right now because the biggest companies, the biggest producers are so narrow-mindedly focused on I think just this bigger agenda that they've got caught in their head that's all that they can allow for. It's like we don't need creativity. I mean, we could let Ari Aster do his thing. We could let Christopher Nolan do his thing because we know they'll be successful. They'll bring in some money. But ultimately, other than these creatives that we know we can count on, everybody else has to be
they're taking fewer and fewer chances.
Yeah.
And I mean, the games industry is no different. I mean, you have a wonderful, flourishing indie scene, but it's just like with indie flicks. I mean, you have to have a passion and a love for it. It's just that with streaming and other capability or other distribution channels, you have the ability to get your film or your video game out there to wider audiences on certain platforms that never would have been possible. And if you've proven yourself there to a degree, I mean, what creator is not going to want a bigger palette to paint their beautiful picture on if they're given that opportunity? And so some of these like Edgar's and Ari Aster, and it's like they still had to have their claim to fame in terms of getting to where they are and making the movies they want. I'll be honest, it's like to see The Northman be a film that was created as like his third one, and I'm just sitting here and I'm like, the fact that someone took a chance on making that kind of film, and it's not necessarily the most broadly appealing film. It is
fantastic, though.
But
I
then,
love that
but then
movie. It is a great movie.
it's the same exact thing when it comes to, I think, video games, and you look at the indie store, and every once in a while there's a journey or there's a flower, there's something that catches on that just elicits this response of, oh wow, this is a unique experience that no big industry has created or thought of. But you hope that developer finds a success to where they can get maybe a bigger budget for another bigger game, and they can build something new and creative.
It's just fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know why we ended up going on that rant.
I mean, we
or
kind
tangent,
of.
but
I don't know.
you know.
I mean, we
It's fine,
kind of.
it's good stuff.
Between Tetris, Bo is Afraid, and video games, we kind of wrapped them all together. It
Which
works.
what would you give Bo is Afraid?
I'd give it 3.5.
Same.
Yeah,
I was
I
settling on
really,
3.5.
I really enjoyed it. I don't know. I keep going back and forth between that and Midsommar of which one I like better.
What was the
I still
other?
need to see Hereditary.
What was the other movie that he did? Hereditary?
I've not seen
Okay.
that one yet.
Yeah,
that
I've
one-
seen that one.
Now I've seen
Disturbing.
all
Yes,
of I've
it
seen
is.
all of Eggers, and I would rank them Northman, Witch, Lighthouse. But right now, like I don't know, because Midsommar and Beau is Afraid are very two different movies, though. So it's hard to, because Midsommar is more horror centric,
Yes.
and the tension in that movie is amazing.
Yes.
And Beau is Afraid has tension too, but it's also more comedic. It's grounded, so it's
Yeah.
kind of like I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
I
very
need to
good.
revisit Midsommar because I remember
That's the
that
one I
movie
haven't
just
seen.
giving me absolute
love-
chills. Like
love
that
that.
was
See, that was The
messed
Witch
up
for
movie.
me.
Me and Sean
From
had a
Edgar's.
great time in the theater. That we
That was a
watched
good
most
one.
of the movie, most of it.
I don't remember what we did. I remember seeing all the movies, so you must have missed some
Yeah.
of it.
Oh, I missed a lot.
There's
I missed Midsummer.
There's a scene, and I can't say anything because I don't want to spoil anything for either one of you, but there's a scene in Beau is Afraid where Brandon was like, oh man, I saw this, and it made me think of, because there's a kind of some similar stuff in Midsommar, and I was like, oh man, I can't wait till you see that then, because if you thought that scene, wait till you see this movie. So,
Okay. All
I don't know.
right. All right.
But I mean, there's
Cool.
good stuff all around.
Yeah.
All right. We'll move on to our headlines.
Headlines.
Wait,
You have like a fuzz ball stuck
You
in
got
your
a
beard.
fuzz ball.
It's been
Hold
driving
on.
me crazy.
do I? Hold on.
Get
Let
it.
me
Get it.
Let me check it. Where's it at?
It's on
Is it
the
on
on
this
your left side by your
Wait.
jawbone,
Right over
by the
there?
back of the jaw.
Oh, I see it right there. Hold on. It's on camera.
I've been staring at it, and I'm
Oh
like,
my god!
oh, there it is.
I get it. I think. Oh, it was my headphones.
Oh.
I gotta get new headphones. These the black stuff's
The
coming
leather,
off. Yeah, the faux
pleather.
leather.
Yeah,
He was
It's like
trying
it's
to make
coming
that
off.
fake salt and pepper. He's like, I'm gonna put a little white in my beard.
yeah.
Give me some George Clooney going.
Sean's got it naturally.
He
So
does, man.
sexy.
Dude,
You're
I've,
handsome
I
over
noticed
Gorgeous.
you have some gray strands
I did.
showing
I
up
woke up-
Where?
in his hair.
In my, I had one in my beard. I woke up the other day and I had this one white hair on
Yeah.
my beard.
Wow.
And I was like, huh. And it
They
should
multiply.
actually. It might.
You pluck it, they three of them come
I
back.
I never plucked it, so it should technically be there. But I did like trim up my beard a little bit, so it might have gotten lost in all the scraggle.
No,
but-
he's got a couple of long strands in his
I ain't gonna lie.
hair up
I
there.
think I would embrace it, but I'm a little scared. If I start getting gray hair, I just want it to match. I just want it to look decent.
here's what
your salt and pepper, Sean, looks good.
It does look
but,
good.
But mine, I'm just like, if I throw brown and gray, like that doesn't.
I would want to
work.
just be
You don't
all.
do that.
Yeah, I don't see if I had short hair, I wouldn't like it. But if I had gray streaks in my long hair, I'd be like, I just let it like
Jean
I don't
Grey
know.
over
right.
there.
Jean Grey, Rogue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know my ex.
Tulsi
white-
Gabbard. I
Sorry.
don't know.
Yeah.
Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah,
Reed Richards
somebody.
has the gray on the sides that go
There you
down.
go, there
It's,
you go.
Superman's mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just picked
In the
women.
Snyderverse.
You're
killing
She gets that. She gets that gray strand. of
Why
hair.
did you say that name?
Diane
Oh
Lane.
my gosh, dude.
Awful line. Awful dialogue.
I don't know, man. The fandom is
Awful
there.
dialogue.
I saw
They do.
somebody tweeted out
Zack
the other
Snyder
day
fans
that
love
they were
it.
like, "It's confirmed. Batfleck is the best Batman of all time."
That's so
and I'm just like,
BS.
"What are you talking about?"
Who confirmed it? Like,
yeah, like
the
what in the
Snyderverse.
world?
By what
Their
study?
fans
Yeah.
are crazy,
The
dude.
same
He
one.
has
I
the
follow
most-
a bunch of them on Twitter, including Snyder himself, and just the stuff people post.
Oh, I'm telling you.
like
I
I'm
just see
not
it on the movie talk group we're a part of.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
Snyder fan,
I'm
like,
not.
he
I'm
has-
not against his movies. I liked them. I maybe one of out of
I'm
three
telling
of
you,
us
man,
here
they're
that
rabid.
liked them.
They're the
But,
reason we
dude,
got the Snyder Cut.
Yeah, their fans are crazy.
They
He
are the
does
reason.
have the most loyal fan base out of like anybody
Well,
I've seen.
they're the reason why it won the most
Oscar,
popular film that year.
They trolled. They gypped the thing and had bots.
gypped
Yeah.
it.
Well, because they said they had found where like there had been bots or what. Like so they voted. They kept going and said
They got
we
the
won it.
Snyder Cut
Telling
to
you.
win best popular film
Yeah,
of that
that's such a
year.
garbage. And you notice they didn't do that again this year.
No, they didn't.
They knew it was like, yeah, that was a waste of time.
That's probably because they didn't have the technology. They were like, we can't stop the bots. We don't know how to do this.
Yeah.
Stop the bots.
They got
It's
bigger.
like
they
it
got
is,
bigger
you know.
problems to worry about over
Yeah,
there at the
yeah.
Academy.
Man,
Let's talk
yeah,
about
they
our
got
big
a whole
one.
strike
Other
going
problems
on
here.
Yeah,
They
let's talk about it. This is the big one on the block, guys. It just started today. The writers are on strike. Last time it happened was in 07 to 08, and they struck for 100 days straight.
I don't know why, but I thought it was longer than that.
It felt like
I
it.
don't know why. But
Because
Well, think
Lost
about it.
when I
was
read that, I was like,
terribly.
"That's it."
I think 100 days affecting television. It probably did feel for like
Yeah.
when you're like, I want my show.
Well, that's a whole season.
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
a whole
true.
half of a season, especially. At
I'm
the time
hoping
that it
maybe the
happened.
writer strike would in some way affect The Witcher season 4, and they just won't do it.
That would be great.
and they'll just let Henry Cavill
they
wrap it
released
up with season 3.
The poster of it, and there was somebody that tweeted it, the poster, and they said, "Hey, look! If you look real closely, you can see the lead actor who's supposed to be the star of the series." And he was like hidden behind these two women, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm just like, it looked like Henry Cavill just kind of peeking out.
I'm
back.
still here.
I'm like, yeah. Well, we know he's not coming back, so what's the
Yeah.
point in even doing it?
It's like, well, that's the
Why?
thing. It's like, I wonder how many people, like, how much of a drop off they have of people watching it. Because at this point, I know a lot of people are just like, why continue watching if we know he's not returning?
Right.
Yep.
You can't
So-
complete the story as is. But anyways, let's talk about the writer's strike. I mean, obviously the first effects of this taking place are tonight, as we alluded to a
Yeah,
little
all the
earlier.
live shows.
All the live late night talk shows. I ain't gonna lie, I kind of laughed.
Oh, I do. I think it's
Who the
great.
hell watches anymore anyway?
Right.
But two, CBS this morning actually showcased a clip from Colbert last night.
Yeah.
And he put up a picture of all of his writers. The show has like 22 writers.
Yeah.
And it's still not funny.
Still dog shit.
Yeah.
It's like, really?
Yeah.
You pay this many people that much money
Yeah.
already, and you still can't make a funny comedic show?
It's awful.
True.
It's like, wow.
Here's my thing, too.
It takes
It's like,
more people to write bad jokes than it does to write good
yeah.
jokes.
Well, that's the thing. Because I wonder, I'm like, okay, when you go back to like Johnny Carson, it's like, how many writers did he have working for him? And he also would improv stuff. So it's like, how bad is Stephen Colbert? Like, granted, I know there's a writer's strike. You can't have a full production because you do need written material. But at the same time, it's like, how many?
And I'm also gonna point out, it's like a lot of these are probably things that you have probably 2 or 3 writers working on this skit over here, this one working, and they're probably working on things that are weeks in advance. I just think it's laughably bad that no matter, it doesn't matter if they're working on it 5 weeks from now. The skits are always crap anyway.
But they didn't fully shut them all down the last round. I remember Conan O'Brien just he improv'd everything. They weren't the best shows, but they would just get on there when you had actual comedians that were like, well, we're just gonna do this. They made up their own skits.
Yep.
And it's like Stephen Colbert can't make up his own material because he sucks.
Well, I think it's hilarious that I'm like, okay, if you want to come out and do it, and part of their angle they're playing is, oh, it's in solidarity. with the
Yeah, it
writers.
is. We want to give them more money.
But I also think it's
that's
funny
not the only thing they're striking for. But
that they specifically kept going during COVID. And it was like that was part of their big, hey, we're still going to keep going, and we're still all about, coming together every single night and giving you entertainment. And it's never been that for the last several years. But I think it is hilarious that you saw them weather the storm through COVID. But of course, now a writer's strike happens, and it's like, oh, we got to shut down immediately. Can't do it.
Yep.
Done. It's like, and yet the main talent is supposed to be the main writer.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be the one that are the reason they're in the show.
yeah.
Is because, it's like we actually have the talent here.
Yeah.
But heaven forbid, yeah, like you said, they can't get up and do a stand-up comedy routine for 30
They
minutes
can't
every
do it
night.
no more. They don't know.
They can't do that kind of material.
Could you
They can't-
imagine Jimmy Kimmel trying? He would just be crying on stage about the government the whole time.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
He'd just have Trump jokes.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, I mean, no, he wouldn't because somebody's writing those for him. I mean, he's not
Sad
smart
but
enough
true.
to come up with them.
Well, I thought the big praise he got for hosting the Oscars was those off-the-cuff jokes
Yeah,
he made.
the only ones he could come up with
were
when
improv.
when the teleprompter went down was the terrible political jokes.
But even then,
It's like, I got to fall back on my laurels. What do I do? Make fun of Trump.
where we know this is mostly going to affect, the industry as a whole is going to be in the serial aspect. The TV shows that are obviously prepared months in advance and then of course filmed. And it's like, this was the big effect. I mean, I brought up Lost as a joke, but everybody knows the disaster that was in season 4 when it just completely derailed the show and it lost tons of viewers.
Yeah.
And they only recovered, I think, slightly because of the popularity of the show. But the last 3 seasons of it, 4, 5, and 6, were god awful.
Several shows felt the effect.
4 was that when they start going down in the well and traveling through time and all that kind of stuff?
It ended with that because
It
there's
ended
only
with
like
that?
12 episodes in that season.
Okay.
It's
And then
hard
they
to
came
even
back with
remember.
shorter seasons.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, even like The Office was impacted. Granted, it didn't lose the fan base that way, but I mean, I remember several shows that, I mean, all of them. And that's what I find interesting now is because part of the writer strike is over pay for streaming because apparently the writers now with all these streaming services and the massive amount of streaming content that's constantly coming out, they're doing twice as much work now, but they're not seeing like as much of a cut from like streaming shows as they had gotten in the past for writing for television and such. And I do find that interesting because with streaming services having such a massive back catalog, I'm not saying the writer's strike's not going to impact them. It will, because obviously they want new stuff coming out.
Yeah.
But it's like,
Maybe this will give us a chance to catch
that's
up.
what I'm saying. It's like
Our back
it's
catalog.
like it's definitely going to hurt, like, basic television, which who watches anymore except for my parents. But it's like it'll definitely impact that. But streaming, I feel like
man,
it's,
I've been waiting to watch Cheers.
I feel like it's going to take longer to impact
Like,
streaming.
man, I've been waiting 40 years.
It's like,
to watch that show.
Netflix wants new material, but when you still have a back catalog, I feel like it's going to take longer for people to feel that effect. Because it's like, if I hop on Netflix now, there's so much stuff I haven't watched that I don't fully know everything that's brand new or that came out just a year ago. So it's like, I don't feel like I'll see that effect right away with the strike, because to me, it's all still on there.
It'll affect what's currently on air, but will it affect the viewership of those who don't already view it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing with, to me, where I'm going to see, they're mainly talking about like the new fall lineup, and it's going to affect, fall shows that are coming, that are new later this year. And I'm just kind of thinking, I don't watch network television.
Yeah, it's like, God forbid,
That's
I
my
can't
point.
watch this version of CSI.
It's like, oh no,
like, there's like
can't
20
see the-
CSIs. Who
I can't
cares?
see the new
Like,
season of Grey's Anatomy.
Oh my! Is there another season of Grey's
No.
Anatomy? That's over, right?
Sean
Please
Rhodes-
tell me that's done.
I thought it was still going. I thought it was still going.
Is it?
Yeah, I think it's
can
still
we-
on.
can
Oh
we
my
get-
God!
Fact check that
the
real
actors
quick.
are gonna die, and they're gonna have to write them
'cause that
off the
was a
show.
big-
Ellen Pompeo looks like
She
death.
left. No, that's what I'm saying. That was a big deal. Like she's no longer on the show, but it's still going.
Dang, I
What?
didn't
She's
know
no
that.
longer on the show.
Yeah,
she was the main draw.
She's because there's other Greys. She has relatives now.
so she.
that are on the show,
oh well, of
so.
course they wrote her
Yeah,
out. She
they're-
was done.
She's got a estranged sister that
She's
shows
basically
up or
like
something.
Rick.
No, that
on
one
The
died
Walking
apparently.
Dead.
That one died?
Yeah, that one died.
Oh
so
my God.
Everybody dies in Grey's. That's I don't understand this. This hospital should be shut down. Sorry, I hate the
Yeah,
show.
they can't even keep their doctors
I
alive.
mean, like the amount of people that have died on this show, I'm like, good Lord. It's like, don't go work for that
Isn't it-
hospital. Some
that-
tragic accident's going to happen and you're going to die.
Patrick Dempsey was a brain surgeon.
He
Didn't he
died.
die
Yes.
from a brain
He
thing?
died.
He died from a car wreck.
There was like a
wasn't he?
hospital bombing in one season. Some people died. Yeah, I was just like, I'm like, damn, just don't go to this hospital because you're just going to die.
That's
It's
right,
terrible.
man. It's in Seattle. That's what do you expect?
I thought it was canceled.
No,
I thought it was
it's
done.
Yeah, it's still ongoing.
How many seasons are there of that? Like 8.
But I mean, good God, you got that. You got like freaking Chicago Fire.
Yeah.
You got
Yeah.
all these different
that
shows
one, I
that
don't
are
think,
the
I
same.
think that one did get canceled.
I hope so. It was terrible.
Because I think that's only shown.
There's
like
14
late night.
seasons of Grey's Anatomy.
Oh my God.
Honestly, I thought there were more.
So
It's been. I remember that show launching. I was in high school. I think it was like 14 when that
Yeah.
came out.
Yeah,
my wife has seen it all.
She watches it weekly, doesn't she?
Oh yeah, she's watched it over.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh no, there are more than that. I don't know. Google originally told.
You got to go to IMDb.
Yeah. There's 19. They're on the 19th season right now. Oh my god. And I mean, it's still going on because
can
the
you
next
look at
episode,
season
the next episode's May 4th. So I mean, they haven't even hit the end of this season yet.
Well, then they're probably done after this because of the. Well, I don't. But the writers.
They probably have all of this season done already. But
yeah,
whatever for next season. Like, not that I care.
Can you see when the first episode aired?
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure I was in high school when that.
It was around when the first writer strike happened. I swear.
Yeah, that's true. So don't worry, guys. We weathered the storm that time.
2005.
Yeah, I was 15.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
It was around during the first writer's strike.
Insane.
It's like, we've been through, this is the second one we've been through. It's okay.
15 years old.
It's just,
oh my God.
It's just a prime time soap opera. That's all it, yeah.
Yes, yeah. You could say that. Primetime soap. But no, I wanted to read from the article this is from Deadline when it all broke. Though we negotiated the intent on making a fair deal, and though your strike vote gave us the leverage to make some gains, the studio's response to our proposals have been wholly insufficient, given the existential crisis writers are facing. This is what the WGA said in a message sent directly to members just before the strike happened. We must now exert the maximum leverage possible to get a fair contract by withholding our labor, the Guild leadership added. Members of the negotiation committee, board, and council will be out with you on the picket lines. News of the strike, which take effect in just a few hours, this was earlier this morning, came late Monday afternoon. The Guild's negotiation with the AMPTP failed to reach an agreement on a new film and scripted TV contract. It's the WGA's first strike since the 100-day walkout back in 07-08. Less than an hour after talks with the studios ended, and over 3 hours before their current contract officially expired, the Guild also made a public announcement of the labor action. Following the unanimous recommendation of the WGA negotiating committee, the board of directors of the Writers Guild of America West and the Council of the Writers Guild of America East, acting upon the authority granted by them from the members, they have voted unanimously to call on the strike effective at 12:01 a.m. Tuesday, May 2nd. The decision made the following 6 weeks of negotiation with Netflix, Amazon, Apple, Disney, Discovery, Warner, NBC, Universal, Paramount, and Sony under the umbrella of the Alliance of Motion Picture Television Producers. The WGA negotiating committee began this process intent on making a fair deal, but the studio's response have been wholly insufficient, given the existential crisis the writers are facing. The company's behavior has created a gig economy inside a union workforce, and their immovable stance in this negotiation has betrayed a commitment to further devaluing the profession of writing. From their refusal to guarantee any level of weekly employment in episodic television, to the creation of a day rate in comedy variety, to their storytelling on free work for screenwriters and on AI for all writers. They have closed the door on their labor force and opened the door to writing as an entirely freelance profession. No such deal could ever be completed by this membership. I wanted to scroll down to, I found this crazy. Illuminating members on what the big differences were, what the WGA was asking for, and what they say the studios were putting on the table. The Guild revealed tonight just how truly far apart the two sides were up until the end of talks on the money and the future. WGA proposals would gain writers approximately $429 million per year. AMPTP's offer was approximately $86 million. So 48% of which is from a minimum increase. But that's how far apart they were.
Yeah.
The Guild, the Writers Guild was coming up with $429 million.
And the producers
in addition,
was like, nah, we'll give you 86.
We'll give you $86 million.
Yeah.
That's a huge gap.
Yeah.
How do
That's a
they
massive
even
gap.
begin to compromise and come back on to the negotiating table for that kind of pay gap?
And it's because other than like stuff like that, they've not given a whole lot of detail because like we don't already know what they make as far as for stream. Because I know streaming and AI are two of the biggest things they've noted right now. They mentioned they want the WGA wanted to regulate use of artificial intelligence on NBA covered projects. AI can't write or rewrite literary material, can't be used as source material, and NBA covered material can't be used to train AI. So it's one of those things where there's
that
not a
takes
lot.
AI completely off the table.
They don't
'Cause it's
want.
like
They
even
said-
even the training thing
Yeah.
means that AI can't pull from
Right.
anybody else's works.
And what
Yeah.
the producers were arguing was they were like, no, we'll table this for now and we'll revisit
Yeah.
it year after year.
right? Yeah.
And
No.
we just want to see how
and
technology
that's
is going
part
to
of
improve.
when they
Yeah.
mention like gig economy and freelance. That's basically they're saying their writers are right now being paid as work for hire. Like, oh, you do a job, we pay you, rather than. And it's like, and I kind of understand why they don't like that, but there's not a lot of details of what it is that they have now and what they're fighting for that I'm curious about as far as like how they're being paid for streaming, because they mentioned that's part of the biggest thing of they getting that cut from streaming as opposed to TV.
well, presumably that's what is included in the $429 million.
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming. It's just funny because I'm like, well, what do they get now, and like compared to what others make? Because I'm trying to judge whether they are being fairly compensated based on the rest of the market in the industry, and that's what I can't come up with.
And
right
again,
now.
you would also assume that during these negotiations, you would see some kind of closing of the gap. But for them to be so far apart in terms of even just the money amount,
Yeah.
regardless of the other issues, you almost have to think in terms of, is there any way for progress to move forward little by little on each issue?
Well, that's my question. Is like, are they like seriously that underpaid, or is the Writers Guild just being that greedy? That's where I'm coming down on this as far as, because in the past, like I actually was fully on board with the writers' strike the last time because I felt like they were kind of getting a raw deal. Now it's like I don't really know that you're getting a raw deal at this point. I felt like they were very more open about what they were fighting for the last time in 2007.
and I think
Yeah, that was also before streaming, and well before AI and this
and
new
granted, I
waters
agree. If they're not getting, if like now that streaming's a thing,
Yeah.
they should adjust somewhat for that. But I don't know what, other than they're just saying they're basically freelance and getting, you do this, you get paid this.
Yeah.
My question too, I mean, I know we'll kind of dive into AI here in a sec because we have another topic that kind of talks a little bit about that in the movie industry, and we've already talked about it extensively on the show here before. But I'm curious about the longer this goes, and is the grandstanding happening on the side of the producers and these studios that are saying, well, there's no way we can come up with these demands
And it's
and
not
meet
hard
them.
to believe that either, though.
But I was going to
Sometimes.
say, depending on the state of, and I'm not talking about every single industry, but we've seen Disney take a hit. I mean, they just now are firing, over the last
True.
2 months, and then they have another round of layoffs this month. But over what?
It's like, can Disney afford to pay their writers?
Well, but I think that's significantly
Yeah.
part and parcel. Is it's like if these studios, in the same shape that we've joked on AMC being in, has spread themselves too thin in providing, all this content, whether it be for streaming, whether it be for movies that opened in theatrical releases and flopped. It's like if they don't have the money to really kind of answer the call right now, and I'm sure that's kind of what the WGA is saying, well, if you can't pay us, it's time to nut up or shut up. And if you can't afford us, then this is our asking rate, and you don't want to fund us, then you're not
guess-
going to get the projects you're looking for.
I guess Disney Plus is going to be $20 a month now.
Well, I mean, that could be one of the ramifications easily is an increase in streaming apps prices. But hell, you're already paying $25 for Netflix.
And I do think that's why, like with Disney, like on all the layoffs, and there was another company nowhere near the same amount. I forget who it was that just laid off, like I think around 1,000 people or 100. Like I forget. But it's just one of the things where if all these companies are in a similar shape, and they know that they can't really raise prices on people because people are already angry about that. I think that is where like Disney cutting costs by getting rid of unnecessary employees. It's like, well, we don't want to raise prices, so let's cut how much we're paying out, and if these jobs aren't necessary, get rid of them. So then when you're faced with, like you said, the writer's strike,
but
it's
do you
like,
also think it's part and parcel the bloat that we're saying? We're talking about all this content you
there's,
already
I think, a
have
lot of bloat.
on streaming.
Yeah.
Is there any amount? Because one of the things that was brought up before was that back in 07, 08 was when we got this huge rush of reality TV.
Yeah.
Because it was like, oh, we don't need writers. We just have producers that produce like scripted
Survivor.
Survivor.
Right.
Yeah, I was
Amazing
gonna say
Race.
that.
Well,
Yeah.
but I mean,
Big
some
Brother.
of those were staples long before.
They were, but they just
But
started
then you have like
turning out more of it.
Keeping Up with the Kardashians, The Simple Life, with freaking following Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie around.
Yeah.
I'm just like, you had Flavor Flav and
21 kids and counting.
Was it Tia Tequila or
Tia
whatever?
Tequila
Oh,
finds
God.
love.
Rock of Love.
Rock of Love with Bret Michaels.
Terrible. God, that was awful.
I watched all that crap.
Oh, what? I did
It
too, but
was
it's still all just junk.
What was the one with Gene Simmons? What was that called?
Oh yeah,
There was one.
it was like the Osbournes, but it was with Gene Simmons. Was it like where it followed his?
Yeah, I just can't remember. What
I
it was
remember
called.
Hogan Knows Best. That was following Hulk Hogan
Yeah.
around when he
Yeah,
was
yeah.
married. And I thought Brooke was hot. I remember that.
I like
You
the
could see where they
Osbournes.
went to go into stardom. I know she was wanting to do like a singing career. That went nowhere.
That's what MTV and VH1 turned into. It went
Yeah.
from music television to reality television.
And they probably, I think that might have been around the time, or they did what was it? I Love the 80s.
No, I did like that.
But that was the thing.
They did
All
the I
it
Love the
was
80s
was
and I
just
Love the 90s.
celebrities coming on there talking about nostalgia, and then they would just show clips from back then and like old commercials and crap. And
Yeah.
it was like, well, that's not hard to
Yeah,
produce.
yeah,
Loved it.
exactly.
Loved
You don't
every
need
minute
writers
of
for
it.
that.
Netflix does that now with like the toys that made us and the movies that made
Yeah.
us. It's like I watched that same thing. But It's
Yep.
great.
But I mean, look, I don't think I don't have a dog in the fight because I mean you do as a consumer because obviously you want to see
Yeah.
good content and you don't want to see shovelware that I would consider to be like reality TV or mind numbing. But I mean, you made a great point, Keith. It's like, how do we not already have enough content to consume as it is that I would just? It's not like back in the day where a major network television show like Lost,
Yeah.
where it screws up that entire franchise or that entire show or series.
You miss it, you're pissed. But
Yeah.
now there's just so much on streaming. It's like
I'm not in any hurry or any rush to consume more
And
of what's
honestly,
already newly on the
the newer crap
the-
has been exactly
the
that
horizon.
crap. Like the newer, a lot of it's like it's like honestly, it's like maybe we should just let the writers go because based on everything we've seen on Disney Plus. Well, I'm just saying, look at the writing on Disney Plus's shows.
Well, and I think to be honest, I do agree. It's like, is this also going to be a time for the studios to not only negotiate fair for the Writers Guild, but then cut back on more of the projects and be more scrupulous about who they hire as writers?
That's what I really hope. I'm hoping maybe there's a long enough break that when they come back, because I mean, using Disney as an example, who's talked about, so like with Marvel, like they've postponed a lot of projects that were supposed to come out this year because they're focusing on quality, not quantity, and we'll see what that means in the future. But maybe this will help. Maybe it's like, okay, now you have to sit back because you don't have writers, and maybe when they come back, we could say, okay, you're getting paid. We need to buckle down and make sure that we're making like better content.
Plus, I find it interesting that one of the stipulations is that obviously while they're in this strike, because you're part of the guild, and that's how you kind of get promoted. That's how you get backdoor deals.
That's
of
how you get work in Hollywood.
Exactly. And I think it's funny that it's like they're not allowing for any kind of, side gigs. You can't go out and do freelancing.
Yeah.
So it's funny that you're in one instance arguing on behalf of better paying gig, returns if you do want to freelance on the side, that you're not beholden to a certain like hard contract if you get, say, a better deal for working for someone else. But then in this instance, because you're on strike,
You're not allowed to work.
You can't cross that line and
Yeah.
say, well, I'm going to go work for an industry professional and work on an actual Hollywood production because then I'm breaking my ranks with the guild, and it's like I'll be outcast, and then all of a sudden now you're completely a freelancer, and who's gonna want to work with you because you were a traitor, you betrayed the trust of your fellow writers. So I find it interesting because this is kind of where you get into. I'm not saying that what they're fighting for isn't noble, especially on the AI front. I think that's a very creative.
Yeah, no, I agree.
While I understand the Producers Guild is they're kind of sitting there thinking, well, we're not really there yet. This is new, uncharted territory. Let's see what happens. The writers are saying, no, let's catch this in the early aspects of where this could affect us right now. And the last thing we want are some of our treatments getting out there, and then they get rewritten in an AI format, and then somebody buys that up for pennies on the dollar and says, hey, this is a great idea and a great story. And then the writer never gets credit. They never get another gig, and yet their work is 90% used from a rehashed, AI script.
Yeah.
So it's like, I can see definitely where that should be on the table.
You want to nip it in the butt before it becomes a problem,
Right.
because once you allow it to happen and it's already happened, it's harder to fight. It's like you can't put the cork back in, like you can't put the genie back in the bottle.
Yeah.
So they want to to try to make sure they have assurances before the studio's like, oh, well, we've already been using this for so many years. Why is it a problem now?
Right.
Yeah. Well, what about the other headline that has to do with AI?
Yeah, let's dive into that.
Ha ha!
Let's talk about it. There was a video that released on it was like on Twitter, Instagram.
Yeah.
It was kind of making its rounds of somebody posted, I think, quite,
It's very well. It
was real dramatic. Hollywood is
very
done for.
Yeah. It was very grandiose in their claim.
Even in some of the comments when people were pointing out stuff, he's like, "Well, I watched it and I literally could not tell. Like, with the first time, I could not tell
He
that
was
this
trolling.
was fake.
He had to be trolling.
Yeah. After I was reading it a few times, I was like, "This guy's definitely got to be trolling because there's no way."
I actually picked it off a retweet, and somebody said, "Definitely think this comment's overblown, but could no doubt see where in 10 years this will be a huge impact in the industry."
And that's what I think when I texted y'all, I was like, that was the thing that I came away from. Is like, I could definitely tell this was fake, but it was well done enough that, like, once this is polished up, it is kind of scary because it was like a spoof on The Great Gatsby. It was like The Great Gatsby or something like that. And it was just, it definitely looked like something a computer made. I was like,
well, and it is weird because we'll link in the description below. We'll have a link to the video where you could see it. It's from a Screen Rant article, but the video is embedded in there, and you can click on it and watch it. And I agree. It's like, to me, the weird part was not that I was blown away by how real it was. It was in a weird way how I could see it becoming an art style.
yes.
I was seeing weird.
I could see people wanting that surreal effect.
Yes,
Like, oh, this is,
It was almost dreamlike and bizarre in the way that it was manifested, that it was like, okay, this is that weird tone of it's got some reality, but also underneath it is that uncanny valley, but to such a degree that it's like,
thing, actually, I didn't like. I was like, I could see that.
I was not entertained.
I was like, I don't know if I'd want to watch a movie this way because it is so unsettling.
One of the things that I saw people, go ahead.
If it was done right and tweaked, after it was AI generated, and literally the majority of the work from the artist was just to go in and modify it to another,
fix the tiny hand. The one woman had tiny hands.
Weird. Yeah, there's a lot of weird.
Sean, go ahead.
I was going to say, one of the comments that I saw, it's not actually on this article, but a lady said that it doesn't have any soul.
Yeah.
And she literally says, like, the characters just look like they don't have a soul, like they're not human. And I don't know how you can tell that necessarily from looking at somebody on the screen.
But you can.
But when you look at their reactions and you look at their movements and everything, I kind of see that. I mean, even in their eyes, I just don't see a person. Like, it's very weird how to describe that.
Someone had a similar comment, and maybe that's what they were like. They didn't know to put it in words that way, but they said that it seemed like a movie full of extras. Like, normally you watch a trailer and you can tell here's the main character and this is the way they interact. But when you watched this clip, everybody in the movie just seemed like they were extras doing these motions in the background.
Yeah.
And nobody actually seemed like a real, actual functioning person. And I was like, no, I get that.
One of the interesting things I do find about it, though, is, and like you said, it's AI generated. So the AI came up with this entire scene, but you look at, like, the filmmaking process. What I want to know is how AI produced this work. Like, did it produce it linear? Did it just, I mean, there's no editing process for an AI.
No.
You know, it's not like it created a bunch of footage and then decided, oh, no, I want to put this clip here and I want to remove this, So it would have had to have just been created in this kind of like linear fashion where it was just like,
it generated a video clip.
Yeah. And I just, that blows my mind. But to me, that also shows in the video because it doesn't look like there's no story here. There's it's not even really a trailer. It's just this jumble of video of different things. And it's like, but there was, I didn't even notice the cat part and some of the smeared and blurry stuff. What tripped me out the most about it was the liquid. And I said this in our group chat. If you watch it back and watch everybody's glass full of champagne, and every time it shows liquid, it's like Jell-O or a
oil,
thick oil. Like, it's very bizarre.
Yep.
How the AI interpreted liquid and how that should look in the film.
I found that interesting too, because for like animators and graphic designers, like two of the hardest things to create are human hands and liquid. And those were the two areas that like you could tell the most were weird. I'm like, that's interesting.
Yeah, one lady's holding a glass with like one finger, and all of her other fingers are on the other side of the glass.
Yeah,
it's so weird.
And it's very there
was one guy who had his like thumb was like it was sticking out at a weird angle, and I was just like, what is that?
Yeah.
So
that's the weird. Like it again. Going back to the comment where she said it has no soul, I've seen. I mean, that to me is what early days of CGI, and especially with like animated features, the idea of it being the uncanny valley, and that's always been a thing. Is it's like reaching into this weird aspect of you don't know how to describe that it's off and it's unrealistic, but it is.
Yeah.
And your brain from just birth all the way through growing up and tangibly interacting with the world around you knows when something is off and it seems unrealistic.
Yeah,
it's not real.
Like the Matrix. It's like in that film, like there's different things that happen, like deja vu and different things that look like a glitch in the Matrix, and like this whole freaking trailer was a glitch.
Yeah. Well, and I like what you
weird.
said about the liquid, because it does draw attention to these are the parameters at which, again, how AI manipulates data into being consciousness. How does it interpret things that we don't think about on a daily basis as anything other than just this is normally how I interact with the world around me, and we describe it in a certain way. But how it's created,
how
again,
a computer interprets that.
I was going to say it all goes back to. I mean, it's one thing when you see even the greatest graphics engines that create these beautiful scenes. That, I mean, look at Unreal Engine 5. But all of those are data points that are a lot of that now are visual pictures that are then crafted and then taken data points to then manipulate it to make it look real. But so much of that is still from human interpretation and interaction of putting that data in there or taking something from real life. For this to be just completely extrapolating all these data sets, but also manipulating things that it's pulling from out of the ether, it still doesn't get it just right. And it's I'm not saying it's never going to get there, because I don't know. It's scary how far it already is.
Yeah.
But obviously, the video is not, to me, I don't know if the person who posted it was being hyperbolic just to say it's going to get there.
Yeah.
But it's still funny because, like we've brought up on several occasions, there has to be a human input.
Yep. Somebody had to tell it to create
this, and it still has to pull from human elements that it knows we have instituted as this is true, this is false.
Well, I wonder too, like whoever gave it the starting point, like somebody had to say, make me a movie trailer that copies The Great Gatsby, but it's with cats and it's this and that. And, they had to give it parameters, and so it created this thing. But I kind of wonder how close was the end result to the actual human's vision of what this should be. Yeah. Like, I mean, did they, when it was finished, did they watch it back and say,
"Oh my gosh, that's spot on"?
That's spot on, or that is not at all what I was thinking.
Right.
Like if I created it myself, that's not at all what I would have done.
They actually told it to make Django Unchained with cats, and they got that instead, and they were just like, "What is this?" I was just thinking of another movie.
Wow. Now I want to see if we could put that in
Django Unleashed.
With dogs.
With dogs. Yes, it's all dogs.
Or Aviator. All the Leonardo DiCaprio movies, like Aviator with cats.
The Titanic 2 can now happen. Man. We can create it as AI.
Actually, I would watch that.
Yes.
I want to see AI make a Titanic too.
No, we've already talked about it. Let's go to the lake and watch these movies and be tripping, because it'll be crazy, man. Gosh, these AI generated stuff early on it's weird. It is weird crap.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. Let's move on to our final topic of the night. That is our relationship segment.
Let me tell you about the birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees and the moon up above and a thing called love.
Aww. Every time. Every
Love
time.
it. Love it.
Let's talk about
Okay.
what's your rule for gift giving?
You have to.
It's working!
I was thinking
they're
the
just-
Twilight theme would have been
No,
appropriate.
I wasn't
right
going
then
for
and there.
appropriate. I just
Okay.
I haven't used that one yet, and I use it every episode, so I had to get it in there.
We gotta have it
It's not
somewhere.
Twilight. The Twilight Zone. I don't want to be like,
I was like,
here, have a sniff.
yeah, I would say take
Take a whiff. Here's
So
my
bad.
shirt.
He
There we go.
found it.
It's on there.
It's still on there.
Yeah, there's a lot that are on there that you never access anymore
I mean, I don't use the old ones.
because you don't go to the other page. You don't try different things.
I don't want to try different things. I just like this one.
I'm telling you, man. All right, let's talk about what is your rule for gift giving. What
For
do you
gift
like?
giving?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really have a rule for gift
Oh,
giving.
it looks like our camera died over
Oh
there.
no!
Oh my God!
Stop moving
What
down there.
happened?
Man,
It's stuck on you two now.
I'm okay
AI.
with that.
AI
Yeah,
just took,
broke it.
Could,
Just
took
took
control
over
of that.
Took over it.
I don't
Yeah.
really have a rule for gift giving. It depends on how much money I have at the time. Like I always try to go for.
Okay, well, let's talk about occasions. I mean, do you do it for birthdays, Christmas?
Okay,
I mean,
yeah, I get that way. No, I do mostly just this Christmas. Now, like maybe my younger like nieces and nephews, I'll do for a birthday. But yeah, I mainly only buy gifts for Christmas, and I always try to be a little bit personable. Like I try to like get things that like specific to interests that I know people have because I just that's more fun. Everybody enjoys getting something that is catered to like things they like instead of a generic. Here's an Outback gift card, or I don't
Who
know.
the hell goes to Outback?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's my point.
Gotta get my bloomin' onion.
If you came in here
I
and
want
you
my
had
rolls and my butter.
if instead of a nice Padron cigar, you had an
Yeah.
Outback gift card, you'd be like, "What's wrong with you?"
Yeah.
Kind of would be. I'd be like, well, I guess he really wants us to
It's
go
like
to
it was
Outback.
that or Ponderosa, so I chose
Oh
Outback.
gosh, yeah, you're better off with
Yeah.
Outback.
The Golden Corral.
It's like I wanted
the Golden
freaking Texas
Trough.
Roadhouse.
That's what we
Damn
used to
it.
call me and
Golden
Brandon.
Trough?
Yeah, that's what Brandon
Golden
used to call
Trough,
the Golden
yes.
Trough. And Happy Panda.
I still got
Oh,
Happy
yeah.
Panda.
That's
Happy
Panda.
Panda's good.
Panda Express is okay.
It's
yeah.
cheap Chinese. It's only fast food Chinese out there, though.
But it's not cheap.
and it's not
I mean,
good.
You
I
can
don't
get
know.
real Chinese food for.
I'd rather just
cheaper.
go buy real Chinese.
Go
I
to
don't
China
know.
Wall or Chinese Garden or whatever it's
They're-
called, Chong Garden.
I'm not down with
They're
the
all
Happy
the,
Panda.
they're all variations of the same name.
They are, but they're better quality than
Great
Happy
Dragon,
Panda.
Yeah.
Wall Dragon, Wall Great.
There's differences. Like honestly, I love
Walk.
Chong Garden.
We have China Wall.
Yeah,
It's like that's
I
original.
wouldn't say they're all the same because there's specific ones I like better than the others. Some of them have that cheap bad rice. I don't know. Yeah,
I typically give.
Michael Werner says he
Oh.
loves Outback.
Hey,
So I apologize. There's Outback people out there.
how do you
there's
take
nothing,
your how do
there's
you take
nothing
your
wrong with
steak,
Outback.
Michael?
I just don't go.
He
I don't
likes
know.
shrimp on the Barbie.
Is that shrimp on the
No,
Barbie?
he didn't say that.
I like my steak medium rare. That's
Me
where I
too.
eat it.
Yeah.
Man, I got one at
I like it.
I got one at Texas Roadhouse that was bloody and it was amazing.
Nice.
I got
I
it
do.
medium. and
Texas
it was
Roadhouse is
fantastic.
good. I like Texas Roadhouse.
Yeah.
Country fried steak, man.
I've been to Longhorns
Where
once.
it's hard.
Okay,
attack.
we're
Yeah,
hungry,
gift giving,
and we're
gift
getting it
giving.
off.
Yeah,
we're getting
yeah. We're
off the
supposed to talk about
topic
gift
here.
giving.
I typically will go in.
I've never been to the Golden Dong. Michael says there's a Golden Dong.
Oh, is
So
that
if that's a real Chinese restaurant, I want to go there.
Is that in Nebraska? Golden Dong.
Golden Dong. Get that next to our the big black dildo we used to talk about.
Oh my God!
We haven't mentioned it in a while.
We
Figured
haven't
I'd
brought
bring it
that
up.
out in a while.
I don't
If you're
think
gonna talk about golden dongs, I mean, come
I don't
on.
think you should
Hey.
get the egg roll. I don't know what's
Dong
in that.
is literally probably a Chinese person's name. Seriously,
Hey, I think
Wong Dong is. I guarantee you, there's someone named Wong Dong.
the word moon in Korean is door.
Yeah.
I learned that from Neil.
So we're Red Door Productions.
That's right. I don't know.
Nice.
But I'd rather be Red Dong Productions. That's our offshoot. Its business is booming right now because of the writer's strike.
Oh man.
No
Rules.
we need to get back to the
Gift
gift
giving
giving.
rules.
Exactly.
Gift
Look,
giving
I
rules.
already told mine. I mean, y'all are just behind.
Well, I will say this. Okay, so I don't have a set rule on an amount of money that I'll spend for certain people.
Yeah.
That usually depends from year to year. If we went big for the kids that year, then you guys are getting a $20 gift, maybe 10. I don't know. If we didn't go big with the kids, then my friends and other and stuff will get like something a little bit nicer.
Yeah.
So it's just the kind of how much money we spent on the immediate family leads to how much I can spend on other people. But I will say I do have rules when it comes to like certain people I know, look, they're not going to tell me what they want, so I'm going to pick what you get, and it's probably going to be a gift card or something easy like
ain't
that.
nothing wrong with
But
that.
then there's other people that I'm like, nope, I refuse to get you a gift card. I'm going to get you something that I know you'll actually enjoy.
Well, I was going to say, I definitely agree with Keith on that. In that regard, it's like I'll typically try to find something that's a little bit more personalized. And if I can't do it in terms of like a tangible gift, I'll do so with a card, whether it be for a birthday or a graduation or even
and even then I buy a card that I know it's something they'll use. Like if I was going to get Hunter a gift card, I'd probably get him something that he could, like a PlayStation gift card so he could buy games.
Yeah. But that's personal because you know he'll actually get some use out of it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not an Amazon gift card.
I was going to say,
it's not a catch-all.
Mine would be something that it's like, okay, I want them to know or maybe think of me when they use it, or at least that it's something they're going to use again or continually.
Yeah.
Not just, every once in a while, it's like, if I'm going to see you all on a regular basis, I think a good, nice cigar is going to be, that's a great gift.
So I know what I'm getting this year for Christmas.
Well, maybe. We typically go the same route every year, I feel like.
I have a question about
Sean's
these rules.
mixed it up a couple of times. We had the tobacco once, which was amazing, and then you got us the coffee beans the one year, which were also
coffee beans
amazing.
were great, yeah.
Both of those. I love the
good.
pipe tobacco
I try
and the
to
coffee beans.
I want to try to get you all something that's going to kill you. Like
I
I'm
appreciate
always trying to get something that's
greatly
going to hurt you.
appreciate it. So
Something bad for your health.
But at least I'll
the pipe
die
tobacco and the
this
coffee.
year I've got I'm probably going to get cocaine.
Nice.
So
Colombian?
I haven't done cocaine yet.
Is there any other?
Yeah.
I know.
Peru from Aldi's.
Hey, organic. it better be organic.
Hey, this coffee's not bad.
No, my question about these rules. Do either of you have a rule about regifting?
Good question.
I don't think I've ever regifted, but I don't know that I would be necessarily opposed to it.
Here's the thing. I'm not opposed to it. Look, all is fair. Look, if I give somebody a gift, once I give it to them, it's theirs.
Oh, wait a minute.
They
Let me
can do
rephrase.
whatever they
I'm
want.
talking about you regifting.
Yeah, no.
You get a gift.
Not regifting. I didn't think about like, let's say I bought something, never used it, never opened it, and I decide to just give it away for Christmas.
I would totally do that.
That's not regifting. I didn't get that as a gift. Like,
wait, well, you did. You're regifting it because you received it as a gift.
No. I bought it.
He bought it for
Like, let's
himself.
say I bought a set of Ring cameras off Amazon when they were on sale. I never opened them, so I'm just going to give them to you for Christmas.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's not regifting.
Okay.
I don't think that's regifting.
I'm just wondering.
If you didn't use
I have
them,
done
you're
that
never going to
before.
use them, and you know somebody who would love it. At that point, it's like, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no, I would say.
Well, then I never really spent any money on you.
But you did.
But
you still spent the money.
No, I spent the money on myself, but then I didn't.
But you didn't need
get,
it.
I didn't use it.
But that doesn't devalue the gift.
Yeah,
I mean, the
know.
gift is still the same
I'm just,
value.
Just curious.
Yeah, unless
I don't
it's
have a
something.
problem with that. Okay.
I have my brother-in-law's grandmother will just take random items from her house and gift them to people.
She's what's the aunt of
yes,
Christmas Vacation?
So,
No.
So in that sense,
Aunt Edna.
That's completely different. You're actually something that's unopened that somebody that person would still like it and you never used it. It's not like you went and you got like your Tupperware containers and was like, you know what? They need Tupperware. I'll give them all my old
wrapped
Tupperware.
up her damn cat.
Or even it's like you didn't go in and find some old back massager and was like, I'll give them that.
Yeah.
Actually, I do have a head scratcher.
Those are nice.
I was getting ready to say, I was like, hey,
hey,
Brandon, if you don't want that head
But that's
scratcher,
the thing. It's like if you come over,
gift.
this year for Christmas and you get a box and you open up and that's head scratcher, you're
I
gonna
know
be
where
like,
it
wait a
came
minute.
from.
Wait a second.
I'm like,
but
this has got brown hair on it.
it works great. I'm gonna say it works.
I got one.
Yep.
I had one. That's what you say.
I had one.
I used to have one of those.
I used to. It was really good.
Now you got one.
No, my main thing too is it depends on the circle. It's like for even my nieces and nephews, it's like we've kind of all come up with an idea where I think we do one gift for. We always do it in like a circle for siblings.
Circle
we do
of
one
friends.
gift. We all combine our money to buy like my parents a gift for Christmas.
That's sweet.
And then for like nieces and nephews, I think it just kind of they all do like a gift for each one of us, but it's kind of usually like a homemade gift that they make.
Yeah.
Which again, it's nice and it comes from the heart. I used to do it as a kid to get me into the gift giving spirit. I would go to Dollar Tree. and I would buy a present for everyone in the family.
Yeah.
But it was usually oriented towards like, hey, I can get this, and I know Mom will use this or Dad will use that. So it was still geared towards like the individual,
Yeah.
of course. It wasn't just like
Just
some
a
random
dollar.
like,
I just
here's
love
some
that.
like
My kids, if I did that, it would be like, oh, we're gonna get Pop a bag of balloons. Oh, we're gonna get
we could use
Mimi
those.
a necklace made out of beads because that's all there is at the dollar store. It's like useless crap. It's
That's
like
right.
we're gonna get Pop a squirt gun
they had for
that breaks the first time you use it.
but we get to use it.
Yeah, true.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
like, man, they won't know. It's like, hey, Dad, can I use those balloons?
Hey, there's some good stuff in the
Pop
Dollar
if
Tree.
you don't want those balloons, I'll take them. It's like,
Yeah.
you just gave them to me.
But overall, it's
Yeah.
like I don't know. I'm like, I think the gifts from the heart are better than just the money.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, it's like I think like last year I enjoyed getting you all a little bit nicer gifts, and some years I can't do that.
See how he touts that over us?
Yeah, I know.
It's like, I got y'all something nice.
Got you some PlayStation
Hey,
games.
it ain't a Michael Scott pulling out like an iPod and like what was it, the white elephant, and it was like nobody. It was like the limit
Oh,
was $20,
$20,
Michael.
yeah.
He was like, it was an
remember that
iPod
one.
Classic.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, no, I ain't pulling that.
The
crap.
brick.
But still, it's like, every once in a while, I'm kind of like, hey, I want to show my appreciation. And then, especially for birthdays, like now, as we've gotten older, my parents are just like, hey, we're going to celebrate on this day. It's basically come over. We'll have like a meal, a birthday
it's just,
meal.
we just
and,
get together.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
I think they give me, they'll give me like
birthday
$20,
gifts.
and they're
Yeah.
like, hey, I'm like, hey, it goes towards the tank of gas. I'll take it. I'll take whatever I
Half,
can get.
half a tank of gas.
Yeah.
Well, in today's world, it's like a tenth.
So that's what
Straight
happens.
notes.
I say that's what happens when you get older, though. You don't get birthday gifts and all the Christmas presents anymore.
Well, and
Cuts down a little.
We've talked about it in terms of like even as a family, it's like anymore. You also, when am I going to be in the year? Like I'll intentionally do this. I've created a list where it's something that I would like to have, but I don't need it because anything I need, I'm going to just buy.
Yeah.
I'm going to buy it for myself. But if I don't need it, and I'll just put it on the list and I'll say, all right, I'll put this on my Christmas list next year for my parents to buy me, and I know it's not like breaking the bank. It's not asking for something ridiculous, but it allows me to give them a list because my parents are very insistent. They're like, we're not giving you money. We want to buy you all presents. You give us a list, and it's due by Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And we want to shop for you all. So we do that.
My parents are the opposite. Like, here's some cash. Get what you want. It's like, okay.
And you're happy with that.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
No, they get us gifts too. It's not just the cash, but they do. They kind of, instead of like, my mom will get all of us like one, like a big gift like for each household. Like I got like this like griddle thing one year, and Miranda and Kyle got that, and Sharon and Dave. Like she kind of gets us all to say something we can use that's big, and then we get a few smaller things, but then we get like cash. So it's nice though. It's nice.
Yeah. Alrighty, guys. What about you all out there? Michael's probably eating his Outback steak right now. He's probably
He likes
enjoying
that
it.
coconut shrimp, boy.
Oh man, I'm telling you,
Coconut shrimp.
I like
sounds
shrimp.
Good.
It's
What's wrong with
pretty
shrimp?
good. There's nothing wrong with that.
There ain't nothing wrong with shrimp.
And I'm telling you, when Lent was going on, and I don't
You ate
even,
shrimp?
No, I craved fish.
I always crave fish around
man.
Lent. And I don't even
I don't even
celebrate. I don't
yeah.
practice Lent. But every time it comes around, I'm like, man, I want some fish.
Yeah. I mean, that's when all the good fish comes out.
Yeah, I'm telling you, they have all the fish fries that are
Yep.
hitting around town.
Yep.
I'm freaking hungry. I want some fish right now.
I love being right
You
there.
going
on
to
the
get
street
some
from
fish?
O'Brien's.
Nah, I ain't going
Where
to-
are you going to go get
There
fish?
ain't no fi-
There's no
It's
fish place
10:30.
open. Yeah,
There ain't nothing
they ain't
open.
It's like go to Taco Bell. I want some fish.
Yeah, the
Fish
guy at the
tacos.
windows
Oh. You might be able to get a
falling asleep like
probably
that,
get a
like
fillet
that
of-
video we saw.
So you get a fillet of fish from McDonald's.
oh,
God.
Hey,
God.
fillet of fishes are good.
like a
if they're
square
made,
of
if they're made,
fish.
yeah, if they're made right, fillet of fish is
I'm
one of the
gonna
best fish sandwiches.
Go to Mike Lennox. I want
No,
some
not
fish.
okay.
There you
Comparable
go.
to that, no, it's not. It's not actual real fish. I'm just
Jacob
saying
Burris says
fast food fish.
personalize the gifts. That's what he says.
Jacob is the king of personalizing gifts.
Yeah.
Yes.
That guy, I'm telling you right now, he'll write a letter to you that just makes you start tearing up, and you're
Yeah.
like, I didn't know I was this emotional.
Wow.
He's fantastic.
I don't think I've ever got one of those.
you have.
I got a plaque.
Well,
behind me.
actually,
That was
that's a good-
personalized.
Yeah,
Boom.
Everybody get their plaque.
they are plaques.
That was for our 300th episode.
Plaques.
We're on 418 now.
Yeah.
Woo!
We got plaque.
We got to have a big one for 500.
I need a new one
Still
that says
year.
vanilla steam though.
Yeah, that's true. And you need one for your mustard love.
Mustard love.
This needs to be yellow and it needs to say mustard love.
Mustard love.
Alrighty, guys, that's
Okay.
going to do it for this episode. Next week, we're reviewing the big one on the block, Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 3.
Yes. I can't
Just
wait.
show me a
Mustard
Coke.
love.
James Gunn's final foray in the Marvel Universe.
Mustard
Yes.
love.
Will it live up to the hype? I do love it. I love it. It's like
yeah.
muskrat love, but no, mustard love. It just really does take me back to the other guys.
My feelings about this
The
movie
whole jar of
are
mustard.
it'll either be satisfying like we hope and a good send off for James Gunn, and then that way I can say, all right, this was a good place to end with the MCU because the rest of what they're making is garbage, or it'll be garbage and I'll be like, well, this is just more proof of what we already know, and I can still write off the MCU.
And it'll piss you off.
Yeah, it will.
Yeah.
But
If they screw up Guardians 3, it is going to piss me off beyond belief.
I don't know if they're going to screw it up. I just feel like it's going to be filled with a crap ton of. I don't even want to say
If it's Thor, Love, and
nostalgia.
Thunder, I'm going to be pissed.
I don't think it's going to be that. I just don't think it's going to be the send off that I'm hoping for because I mean, you can't do that. It's like Marvel's ongoing. It's not. I know Guardians is wrapping.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just have no faith in Marvel. I have no faith.
Yeah, well, but my faith's not placed in Marvel right now. It's in hopefully that James
James
Gunn
Gunn.
can
Yeah.
still deliver. I mean, I know Suicide Squad wasn't the best, but it wasn't
Yeah.
as bad as what we've seen from Marvel either. So
Yeah,
hopefully,
we'll
we'll see. I don't know.
We'll see. But that's the movie we're reviewing next week. So until next time, right here in Louisville, we're going to celebrate the Derby this week. I'm going to do some horse betting, and maybe, who knows, I could win $1 million, and there's no show next week.
I'm going
just run
fishing.
off.
I don't celebrate Derby. Me and my dad go fishing every Derby day.
I bet on the horsies. I bet on the ponies, and I try to win us some dough so I can get some more fine equipment.
You've won some
You
money
know?
before. Nothing big, but you've won before.
I've won
Yeah.
about like $300-400.
I'm Baptist.
Which is
I
nice,
can't gamble.
honestly.
Do it under the table. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I'm going to go get a steak or some fish from Taco Bell. Until next time, I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Vanilla Steam.
and
I don't think we promoted the
Oh!
email.
Oh, my God.
RMPodcast at RMProductions.com.
I'm sad.
That works.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.